It was a peaceful afternoon, the sun dipping low in the sky, casting long shadows over the quiet street. But for 10-year-old Emma, that peaceful afternoon was about to be shattered. Emma was walking home from school, her best friend by her side. Max, her German shepherd, trotted alongside her, his strong, muscular body carrying him with confidence and grace. Max wasn't just a dog, he was Emma's protector, her constant companion. He had been with her since she was 5, always at her side, always watching over her. But today, that bond would be put to the ultimate test. As they turned the corner, Emma heard the unmistakable roar of motorcycles. Her heart skipped a beat as a group of bikers pulled up to the sidewalk. Their loud engines rattled the air, and the leather-clad men on their bikes eyed Emma and Max with an unsettling intensity. Max immediately perked up, sensing something was off. His ears stood at attention, his body tense, ready to spring into action. Emma, too, felt the unease building inside her. She gripped Max's leash tighter, trying to calm her own racing heart. But the bikers didn't seem to notice. One of them, a burly man with tattoos covering his arms, sneered at the girl. "Nice dog you got there," he growled, taking a step toward Emma. "I bet he's harmless." Emma stood her ground, but she could feel her legs trembling beneath her. Max growled softly, his eyes locked on the biker, warning him to stay back. But the bikers didn't take the hint. They were clearly looking for trouble. The leader of the pack, a man with a scar running down his cheek, slid off his bike and swaggered toward Emma. "What's your name, little girl?" he asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Emma didn't answer. She wasn't sure what these men wanted, but she could sense that something bad was about to happen. Max growled louder, his teeth bared, but Emma could feel the tension in his body, the fear. He knew he couldn't let these men get any closer. Without warning, one of the bikers lunged forward, attempting to grab Emma's arm. In that instant, Max sprang into action. His powerful body shot forward like a bullet, slamming into the biker's chest with the force of a freight train. The man staggered backward, surprised and disoriented. Max didn't hesitate. He locked his jaws around the man's wrist, pulling him away from Emma with terrifying precision. The other bikers shouted, but Max was relentless. His training kicked in. He had been a K9 police dog before Emma had adopted him, and his instincts had never left him. He had been trained to protect, and now that training was saving Emma's life. The bikers, stunned by the ferocity of the dog, stepped back, unsure of how to react. But they weren't done yet. The scar-faced biker, now enraged, reached into his jacket and pulled out a knife. Max's eyes flickered to the knife, then back to the man, knowing what was coming. He wasn't afraid. The dog growled low, a warning to the bikers that this was no ordinary dog. This was a trained protector, a fierce warrior in fur. The knife-wielding man lunged at Max, but Emma, seeing the danger, screamed for him to move. With lightning speed, Max dodged the strike and twisted around, knocking the knife out of the man's hand with a single swipe of his paw. He followed up with a powerful bite to the man's arm, causing him to cry out in pain. The other bikers, now realizing they were outmatched, began to retreat. The scar-faced man, clutching his bleeding arm, snarled. "This isn't over." But he and the others quickly mounted their bikes and sped off, leaving Emma and Max standing in the street, breathless and shaken. Emma dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she pulled Max close. "You saved me, Max," she whispered, her voice full of disbelief and gratitude. The dog licked her cheek, his eyes soft, as if reassuring her that everything would be okay. Max looked up at Emma, his protective instincts never fading. She could feel his strength, his loyalty, and the deep bond they shared. He had been her best friend for so long, but today, he had become her hero. But the adrenaline was still rushing through her veins, and Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The bikers may have retreated, but their threat wasn't over. Emma stood up slowly, still clutching Max's leash, and scanned the street. It was empty now, eerily quiet. Suddenly she heard a loud rev of engines in the distance. Her stomach dropped. The bikers were coming back. This time, they were riding in a tighter formation, their bikes roaring in unison as they sped toward Emma and Max. The sight of them made Emma's heart race. They weren't just angry, they were vengeful. They wanted to hurt her, and they were coming for her again. Max didn't flinch. His body was rigid with readiness, his focus sharp. Emma looked down at him, and in that moment, she knew he would protect her to the end. But as the bikers drew closer, she realized something. Max couldn't face them alone. She had to do something. She couldn't just stand there, paralyzed by fear. With a deep breath, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911, her hands shaking. She quickly explained the situation, but the bikers were closing in fast. There was no time to wait. In that moment of panic, Max seemed to sense her fear. He nudged her gently with his nose as if telling her everything would be okay. Emma knew then that she had to trust him. He wasn't just a dog, he was her protector, her hero. And together, they would face whatever came next. As the bikers sped toward them, Max barked fiercely, a sound that could only be described as pure power and authority. The leader of the group hesitated, his eyes narrowing as he saw the determined look in Max's eyes. He could tell this dog wasn't just a pet. He was a trained warrior. Max stepped forward, growling low, his teeth bared. He was ready to fight, and the bikers could feel the weight of his resolve. They had underestimated him once, but they wouldn't make the same mistake again. The leader of the gang hesitated, his grip tightening on the handlebars. "You're lucky this time, kid," he said, his voice laced with venom. "But don't think we'll forget this." The bikers roared off, their engines fading into the distance. Emma watched them go, her heart still racing, but a sense of victory washed over her. She had survived, and so had Max. As she stood there, staring into the distance, Max looked up at her, his tail wagging slowly. Emma bent down and hugged him tightly. "You're my hero, Max," she whispered. Max's eyes were calm now, but there was a certain warmth in them, a deep understanding. He wasn't just a dog, he was family, and no matter what happened next, they would face it together.